Hello, Goddess Garden Book Chat. I'm so glad to be back with you. We have reached our 11th novel in our journey in our reading challenge. I hope that something has appealed to you, has leaped out to you, has made you want to seek out some of these great works. And we've got plenty more coming your way. But I did want to share this particular read. This was something I got from the library, and I actually did a book review of this with another book club that I belong to, Virtual Reality. We talked about this book and really had an interesting take on it. But when I went back and ran my review of how I felt about it through the filters that I used to script the deep dives, it came out with some things that were so much richer and things that I didn't necessarily see because, one, I was so blinded by the friends of Nene. They were so disruptive and they weren't supportive, and I was really kind of ticked at them. And I remember thinking that that was sort of a distraction to me, that this woman being an immigrant really had no support outside of her household. And I think I kind of fixated on that and lost a lot of the overarching story. I hope that doesn't happen to you. I hope that when we do these deep dives and when we talk about a lot of the books that come our way, especially when you've already read them, it lets you look at them with new eyes, and it gives breath to so much of what you may have missed because you were fixated on a particular part of the book or how the book ended, or the way, if you were listening to audiobooks, the narration hit different than maybe a read would have. So whatever your issues are, I'm bringing this to the forefront for the Goddess Garden Book Chat so that we can get into Behold the Dreamers. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and I hope the journey has been fulfilling.
All right, let's dive into MBUE's Behold the Dreamers.
Okay.
We're taking a look at this book review, and it really breaks down this powerful story about two families. Two families who were chasing, I guess you could say, different versions of the American dream. We have the Jongas, they're immigrants from Cameroon, full of hope for a new life, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the Edwards, they're a wealthy American family.
Right.
But they're wrestling with their own internal struggles. And the crazy thing is, their lives become intertwined.
I do.
In a way that makes you kind of question everything you thought you knew about success and happiness.
It's really interesting how MBUE, she doesn't just like contrast the immigrant experience with the wealthy elite.
Right.
She digs deep into both sides.
Yes.
Shows how even the people that seem to have it all can be struggling with this deep sense of emptiness.
Totally. And the review starts by describing the Jongas' life back in Limbe, Cameroon. Like, it really emphasizes the warmth, the vibrancy of their community, the family ties, and just the richness of their culture. It makes you really feel that bittersweet nature of their decision to come to America, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they're trading one set of challenges for another, hoping for something better, but carrying the weight of what they left behind.
And you see that weight, I think, best through Jende's love of storytelling.
Oh, interesting.
Which the review points out is really common in lots of African cultures, where they use storytelling to pass down history and wisdom through generations. And it makes you realize how much the Jongas are sacrificing by leaving. They're not just looking for better jobs or anything.
Right.
They're leaving behind part of their identity.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the American dream is even worth that kind of sacrifice.
Right.
And the review definitely doesn't shy away from the harsh realities that the Jongas face once they get to America. So Jende becomes a chauffeur for Clark Edwards, who at the time was like this high-flying executive at Lehman Brothers.
Big investment bank.
Huge, right, before the whole 2008 financial crisis. But Jende lives with this constant fear of deportation.
Right.
Making every day a struggle to just survive.
Yeah.
Let alone thrive. Right.
And then his wife, Smani, she finds work as a domestic worker for the Edwards family.
Wow.
Which just highlights the crazy power imbalances you see so often in the immigrant experience.
Totally.
They're both caught in this web of, you know, just trying to get by, doing whatever they have to, but constantly reminded that they're in a very fragile position in this new world.
It makes you wonder who really benefits from the American dream.
Yeah.
And who gets left behind trying to chase it.
Absolutely.
That's what I thought was so interesting is you have the Jongas, right? striving for this piece of the pie. While the Edwards family, they're living this supposed dream life,
Right.
but they're crumbling from within.
Yeah.
The review describes Clark as like a classic workaholic.
Oh, yeah.
Absorbed in his career.
At Lehman Brothers.
Yeah, at Lehman Brothers. And then you have Cindy, his wife, who's trapped in this world of appearances, always trying to keep up a perfect facade,
Yeah.
but battling her own struggles.
Right.
It's like they have wealth, but no soul.
It's wild how MBUE connects those struggles to the Jonguses in such a subtle way, though. Like the fact that Lehman Brothers collapses,
Right.
which obviously happened in the real world and was devastating,
Yeah.
it becomes a metaphor for how shaky the American dream actually is.
Wow.
It reminds us that even people at the top can be taken down
Yeah.
by a system built on shaky foundations.
It makes you question how much we sacrifice for our dreams.
It really does.
The Jongas are risking everything for this chance at a better life.
Yeah.
And the Edwards are sacrificing their well-being, their relationships,
Right.
all for success and status. It's
Yeah.
like they're both chasing illusions in different ways.
Yeah, and then you've got Vince,
Vince, yeah.
the Edwards son. Right.
Who just adds another layer to this whole thing.
Right.
Because he rejects his privileged life.
Totally.
Almost like he sees right through his parents' emptiness
Interesting.
and his search for something real,
Yeah.
something meaningful. It really connects with the Jonguses' struggles, you know?
Ah.
Like they're all yearning for something they can't quite reach.
Yeah.
Whether it's belonging, purpose, connection,
Right.
in a world that feels more and more fragmented.
And that's where the Jonguses' faith comes in,
Yes,
which the review points out as a constant source of strength for them.
absolutely.
I found that interesting because their faith isn't just about, religious rituals.
No,
It's about their community, their shared beliefs, like feeling connected to something bigger.
exactly. And it creates this stark contrast with the Edwards,
Yeah.
who seem to have totally lost their way morally.
Right.
I mean, they have tons of money and things,
Yeah.
but they don't have that spiritual grounding.
Which is what seems to give the Jongus the ability to face all this hardship.
It makes you wonder if true wealth is actually about what you have or about the strength you get from your values, your beliefs.
Your connections.
Yeah, and that contrast is also seen in their families.
Totally.
The Jongas find comfort and connection in their community. They support each other.
Mm-hmm.
While the Edwards, even with all their wealth, seem more and more isolated.
Yeah.
Makes you think about what connection and belonging actually mean.
Right.
Is it something you earn or something you build? It's amazing how MBUE can weave these small, intimate moments into this story that tackles these big, complex issues.
Right.
Like with Nini and Cindy, the two wives.
Yeah.
They come from completely different worlds.
Totally.
But you see this underlying connection between them, this shared vulnerability.
You're right. Those moments are so important
Yeah.
because they bring those characters to life. I mean, Cindy, even with all the privilege, she opens up to Nenny about being a mom, her insecurities. Wow.
Even her search for meaning.
It's like they're both trying to find something more.
Yeah.
Something beyond what's expected of them.
Absolutely.
Like Cindy's stuck in this, gilded cage of wealth
Right.
with all these social expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nini's always fighting against the limitations she faces as an immigrant.
As a woman of color.
Right, as a domestic worker.
And it's in those quiet moments
Yeah.
where they share those vulnerabilities
Mm-hmm.
that they really see each other, not as just these stereotypes,
Yeah.
but as women dealing with the same things.
Right.
Life, love, motherhood.
It reminds you that we're all human,
Yeah,
that we have more in common than we think.
definitely. And that you can find those real connections
Yeah.
in the most unexpected places.
The review also mentioned how MBUE subtly critiques the systems that create inequality.
Oh, for sure.
It's not in your face or anything,
Right.
but it's there, woven into the story, especially when you see the Jongus' hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Up against the reality of the American economic system.
Like, here are the Jongbas chasing the American dream,
Mm-hmm.
believing that you can move up in life.
Right.
And yet the book shows how messed up that system really is,
Yeah.
favoring those who already have advantages.
It's almost like the American dream is a trick.
Right.
Like it's this ideal, but the reality is way more complicated.
It is.
There are all these barriers and imbalances.
Yeah.
It's like a dream that's impossible for some.
And a great example of that is when Lehman Brothers collapses.
Oh, right. Where Clark works.
Exactly. MBUE uses that to symbolize how broken that system is.
Interesting.
I mean, think about the financial crisis.
Of 2008.
It hit everyone, not just the rich.
Yeah.
So many people lost everything, their jobs, homes.
It really exposed how unstable that system is.
Totally. A system based on greed.
Right.
Risky bets.
There's this one quote from the book that really stayed with me.
Oh, yeah.
Where Jinde is talking about Lehman Brothers going under. Yeah. And he says something like, even the big men fall.
Wow.
It just shows you how disillusioned people felt.
Yeah.
Like, even those at the top aren't safe.
And it makes you think, what hope is there for everyone else?
Right. If the big men fall, what about the rest of us?
Exactly. But it also shows how resilient people are.
Yeah.
Even when things are stacked against them, people adapt.
Right.
They help each other out. They keep going.
And that's where I think the Jongus' faith becomes so important again.
Oh, definitely.
The review highlighted how their faith helps them deal with the fear.
The uncertainty.
Yeah, the uncertainty that's always hanging over them.
It gives them a sense of purpose.
Right.
Like they believe in something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. It's not just about religion. It's about having that strength to keep going.
And then you compare that to the Edwards,
Yeah.
who seems so lost.
Spiritually.
Yeah. Like they have everything money can buy, but they don't have that connection.
It's like their son, Vince, sees that emptiness
Yeah.
and rejects everything his parents stand for.
He's like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Right. It makes you wonder what the American dream even means anymore.
It really does.
Is it just about money and success?
Right. Or is it about something deeper?
Like finding your purpose?
Feeling like you belong.
Exactly. And who gets to decide what the American dream is anyway?
It's a good question. Is it the same for everyone?
Or is it different depending on who you are and what you've been through?
I think Behold the Dreamers makes you consider those different perspectives.
Yeah, how we each chase our own dreams.
And what we're willing to sacrifice for them.
Man, it's been quite a journey with the Jongas and the Edwards.
It has.
This whole deep dive into Behold the Dreamers has really made me think differently about the American dream, you know?
Yeah.
What it means to try to build a better life.
It definitely stays with you, makes you think about your own life, your own dreams.
The choices you make.
And MBUE does such a great job of weaving together these big ideas like immigration, capitalism, search for happiness with these small personal moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Where people connect.
Yeah, it's not just some intellectual thing.
Right.
It makes you feel things.
You really feel for the Jongas. You feel their anxieties. You're happy when things go well for them. You hurt when they struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're seeing the Edwards family and you get them.
Yeah.
You understand them as people even if you don't agree with their choices.
Or the system that gives them all these advantages.
The review was right. It's not just about immigrants.
Yeah.
It's about all of us.
What connects us?
That desire to belong.
Find your place.
Have a purpose.
Especially in a world that can feel so chaotic.
And it's about what we give up to get those things.
Right. The compromises we make.
How we pick ourselves up when things get tough.
I thought it was really interesting how MBUE shows how important culture is to the Jongas. And it's not just about, the stuff you see.
The traditions. Right.
It's deeper than that.
It's a way of life. A set of values.
Your community. And that's what keeps them going when everything else is uncertain.
All those details about their culture add so much to the story.
Totally.
Like how Jinde tells stories, something he learned back in Cameroon.
Yeah.
And that becomes a way for him to feel connected here in America.
It makes you wonder what we lose when we try to fit in somewhere new.
Yeah.
To a new culture, new system.
What parts of ourselves do we hide?
Do we change who we are just to belong?
That's something a lot of immigrants think about.
Right.
And MBUE gets that struggle.
Shows how the Jongas deal with those cultural differences.
Holding on to some traditions.
Trying to fit in with others.
It's like they're trying to find a balance.
Between keeping who they are and adapting to this new life.
And the thing is, the review pointed this out too. There are no easy answers in Behold the Dreamers.
Right.
It's not tied up in a neat little bow.
It leaves you with this feeling.
Like something's not quite settled.
Yeah.
That going after the American dream can be amazing.
But also really disappointing.
You can find what you're looking for.
And still feel lost.
Life is messy, right?
It is.
Full of twists and turns.
And sometimes the best things come from the journey itself.
Not the destination.
What you learn along the way.
The people you meet.
How you learn to bounce back.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Behold the Dreamers, we want to leave you with something to think about.
What dreams have you chased?
And what did you have to give up for them?
What sacrifices have you made?
Or seen others make?
All in the hope of a better life.
And maybe even more important, what have you learned about yourself?
About the world.
About what dreams really mean?
We hope this conversation has made you curious.
Made you want to check out this amazing story.
Because Behold the Dreamers asks us to look deeper.
Question what we think we know.
And accept that life is complicated.
Messy, but beautiful.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep searching for those nuggets of wisdom that help us understand ourselves and the world a little bit better.
February's breeze echoes the past. Sing hope for birds flown, learning to last. Through pages that whisper lessons untold. Goddess garden room stories unfold. Reflections of strength like rivers flow. In books we rise, that our spirits glow. GGBC reading challenge transforming. February's dreams live as a cycle for bird. Where